Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again with another, or actually our last, mini set card review as all the Warlock cards have been revealed. We got a throwback to Jirax's that's just pretty out there, pretty crazy demon, as well as a really efficient board clear. And is Wild screwed again? Is Wild screwed? It might be. We're gonna go over all these cards, and if you want to win these cards, we're giving away now 4 mini sets out of my pocket to enter that giveaway. Like and comment in the video, link down in the description below. The one with that thumbnail over there. Be subscribed to the channel if we manage to hit another 1,000 subs by the 14th. When the mini set goes live, I will add another mini set to that giveaway. So hit that sub button. Make me go broke. Let's take a look at these Warlock cards, starting off with what I feel is just a really solid board clear effect, the Domino Effect, a 3-mana spell, no spell school or anything like that, not a shadow spell. You deal 2 damage to a minion. Not amazing. However, you repeat to the left or right, dealing 1 more damage each time. It's kind of like rolling fireball, where you would pick a minion and it will go either left or right, and then it'll just keep going until it's done. So it'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So you kind of want to start on the left or the right to get the maximum utilization out of it. But the way it scales, you kind of have to factor in, will that kill the thing I want to kill? It's a really interesting one that now your opponent might need to play around, where they don't want to have low health stuff at the edge. They want to put their high health minions in the middle, so the left or right won't really hit that well. Really cool AoE effect. I'm hoping it's good, although we just had that whole patch where they're like, we want AoEs to be less effective, and now we have a 3-mana potentially wipe a full board. Could be pretty crazy, right? So I'm assuming it would also work with spell damage, if that's a factor or not. And I guess you could hit on your own board and clear your own board, which can be relevant in certain situations where you have like death rattles and all that. You never know. Really cool card. Kind of got that you actually have to think mentality to it, which I like. I'm gonna give it a 4 to 5 in standard. I just feel like this could be a really good AoE, especially the way it scales, the way it can hit 7 things potentially. Really solid. And in Wild, I'll give it a 3. Merino locks or just those type of decks, you know, files in both standard Wild, still really good, but more AoE certainly doesn't hurt. And you also have table flip. There's a lot of good AoEs for Warlock. Good luck trying to keep a board lately. So yeah, I'll give it a 3 in Wild, a 4 in standard, and it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. And yeah, maybe it just won't be that good. You never know, but I feel like it's pretty darn solid. Next, we have an absolute outrageous throwback to Lord Jiraxis himself. We get his Infernal, kind of. A 4-mana, 6/6 demon. This one has taunt, and you battle cry, set your hero's remaining health to 15. Why would you want to do this? I actually don't really have a good answer for that. I really don't. It doesn't work with Molten Giant. It doesn't work with like the Imprisoned Horror card, because you're not damaging yourself, you're setting your health. So Molten Giant goes based on your total health, so you got to be down to basically dead to play it. You can add to this health after with like the Azure Stake and all that. You could do that. You could just play this for a lot of early stats and location it up, although that got nerfed recently. It's a big demon you could just cheat out, and then you don't have to worry about the battle cry. You could use it as healing. You're really low. You have like 2-3 health. This can be a heal. That can be all right, but I'm just thinking of actual synergies that make sense in the current metagame. I don't see it. You know, just a 4-mana 6/6 on its own. It's not really good enough with taunt when you're potentially damaging yourself by a lot. I guess you activate your Sheriff Barrel Brim. That can be pretty good. Or in Wild, you have Hooked Reaver immediately active. It can get that 7/7 body on the board with taunt, but overall, I just don't see enough of an upside of just pure stat 6/6 taunt. And yeah, like setting your remaining health to 15 is just a lot of the times a really big downside, and there's not enough of an upside to it that, again, let me know what I'm missing, if I'm missing anything that will make this a playable Hearthstone card, at least in the current meta, whether it's standard or Wild. I've got to give it I'll give it a 2. Maybe, just maybe, you cheat out the stats, or you just don't care about your health going to 15, or maybe there's just a synergy I'm not thinking of that's good for that. I'll give it 2 in both standard and wild, because obviously Hooked Reaver's going to break wild now. This is an even Warlock card. You're already tapping and getting lower in health anyways. Who cares if I'm at 15? If I'm already low to 15 or I'm healing up, maybe it's worth it in those decks, but yeah, probably not. But a really cool throwback. And then lastly, the last card of the mini set, of course, it's a card that could potentially destroy wild more than that Infernal. It is a new 1-mana spell, so Skulking Geist is out there for this just in case. Mass Production. You draw 2 cards for 1 mana, but there's a downside. You deal 3 damage to your hero, shuffle 2 copies of this into your deck. It's kind of like a Jade Idol. It's infinite card draw that self-damages. Talk about wild after we talk about standard first. So let's talk about standard. Is this very good? Not really. There's not a lot of like self-damaging stuff. You can do it with like Molten Giant. You can do it with the Imprisoned guys. You can get them out kind of cheap with that. You also can draw stuff, but you can also just keep drawing mass productions. And at some point, the damage does add up and you start, you know, dying and all that. But yeah, maybe you play this just as cheap Cycle and Warlock in standard that activates, you know, the pain strategies. Maybe it's worth it there. You're probably not going to want to play this with Infernal though, putting your health to 15. But the idea is maybe I played so many of these that setting my health to 15 would actually be a good thing. So there is that. Can never really fatigue with this because, again, infinite self-damaging value. Yeah, maybe it's just a nice little fuel thing for that Pain Warlock. That's a very real deck. It's quite good. You can stop the damage you take, of course, with like the Virtuoso, with your Fellstring Harp. I could see it seeing play in Pain Warlock. That's pretty much the only archetype because, again, to mass cycle into a combo or anything like that, it's counterintuitive to do that. You really want to repeat this, draw cards, self-damage, and just see how it goes. I'll give it a 3 in standard just for Pain Warlock. I think it could be used there, again, to cheat out those demons, those giants, and just, you know, cycle through your deck. And then in wild, of course, the Demon Seed. That's what this is immediately going to make you think about. Is this going to break wild with the Demon Seed? Because every time you take 3, you're proccing your Demon Seed, and then you're completing your quest, and then all of a sudden this becomes a 1-mana draw 2, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero after your quest is complete. The thing is, right now, the Fatigue Warlock strategy where you're using like the Furnace Fuel and Chamber of Viscidus and Hand of Gul'dan, it murders your opponent really fast. And you just focus on Crystallizers and your Cobalt Librarians and Raised Deads to complete your quest. This, you would have to build the deck entirely different. You're no longer fatiguing with this. You are using this as your way of murdering your opponent. You're playing this, dealing 3 constantly, drawing cards. You'd have to build it more to just be anti-aggro, more healing, more removal. There's going to be a lot more to it, and it feels like it'd be probably a lot slower than just going for the, I draw my whole deck, I get the Burn Bristle to heal up, I get my 1-mana 6/6, I get my Fanatum by like turns 5, 6, and 7, and murder my opponent. I feel like this would be a lot slower, and this is actually counterable. As I mentioned, Skulking Geist would just shut that off, right? I guess you could then go for the Fatigue strat, but your deck won't really be built around it. So it's an interesting one. I don't think this breaks wild in the fact that I feel like the current Demon Seed version is better than this, but you absolutely could do that strategy. It will for sure be a thing, and I'm very spooked by this card. It's very spooky. I don't know what else you'd really run it in wild other than the Demon Seed. I will give it a 3. I think maybe that version can work. I just feel like it's not going to be as good as the Fatigue version, but I absolutely could be wrong. And if it's somehow better than that, this card probably gets banned because the Demon Seed is so close to already being like tier 1, tier S, and I'm sure the complaints would be heavy if it does, so we'll have to look out and see. But no, I don't think this breaks wild, but it's a scary one, and I could absolutely eat those words later on. So there you go. That's every card from the mini set we have now reviewed. We'll probably have a tier list either on Sunday or on Tuesday of all the cards. We'll giveaway winners on Tuesday. We're expecting patch notes on Monday. So there's a lot of news coming up still, and then we'll have the fun tier list and maybe something else to talk about in the meantime. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.